Solana is hot right now. It has recently taken off and is now the 8th largest cryptocurrency, despite being just over a year old. And this has been my most requested breakdown in quite some time. What we're aiming to do here is break down what Solana really is, what the tech does, and whether there are legitimate use cases behind this coin for a potential long-term investment. So by the end of this, you should feel like a Solana expert, both in how it works and the potential future, and whether you may want to consider jumping in for an investment. And as always, to break this down, I have put together a good old flow chart. It has been a while since we've done a flow chart, but we had to get back to the roots here. So this is the flow chart on everything you need to know about Solana. We're going to cover the history, the goals, the fees, the tech, and the risks of this. Also, if you want to be able to download this flow chart, go ahead and join the Patreon. You guys have been going absolutely crazy with the Patreon recently, and you completely sold it out yet again. So I've opened an additional 15 spots on the Patreon. We try to limit it so that way everyone can get taken care of. That way there's still good customer service. So it's 15 spots. They're going to grab quickly. If you want a spot, grab a spot, and let's go ahead and jump right in. So we're going to start off with the history and the beginnings of this crypto project. So it was founded by Anatoly Yakovenko, this fine gentleman right here, and he was a senior staff engineer manager at Qualcomm for 12 years and a former software engineer at Dropbox. And he has a lot of unique thoughts and ideas behind distributed systems and of course with cryptocurrencies, and you'll see that throughout this presentation that there's a lot going on here that's really interesting. So it was founded in 2017, but they didn't launch until March 2020, and we're still in the beta version of this. It's important to note there's still a long ways to go with this and just cryptocurrency tech in general. And here's some investments that they secured. Multi-coin capital, block tower capital, and foundation capital for the Solana project when they're first starting out. Something interesting here, Sam Bankman-Fried, he's the founder of FTX, and as I have written here, he's a 29-year-old worth $15 billion. This guy he's like next level. He's like an alien. He's hiding all his knowledge up in that hair, I think. I wish I could say the same. So he built Serum, which is a decentralized exchange on the Solana network, and he just has really nothing but good things to say about Solana. The token is the SOL, S-O-L token, and it is stakeable. It's stakeable despite having a slightly different consensus mechanism, so you can still earn passive income with your Solana coin, which is obviously great to hear. Anytime you can earn some passive income, that is great. Now, here are the goals of this project. So they're deep into DeFi. They're trying to solve a lot with DeFi, but they're mostly trying to solve the problems with DeFi by solving this crypto trilemma. That's what they call it. The trilemma is scalability, security, and decentralization at the same time. It's very difficult to have all of those, especially scalability. Blockchains especially struggle with scalability. So Solana does not use proof of stake or proof of work. Instead, it uses a new consensus mechanism called proof of history. And we're going to really dive into what exactly that means and how it works in just a couple minutes here. So here's a TPS report. Show me your TPS reports.
We need to talk about your TPS reports.
Yeah, the cover sheet, I know.
It is fast. There's a lot of transactions per second here. It's impressive if they're able to transition this over to the mainnet with these impressive speeds. I mean, this could potentially be groundbreaking. So Solana is significantly faster than other platforms that support smart contracts like Ethereum or Cardano. That, most crypto projects struggle to break like 15 transactions per second, and that's not where we need it so much higher if we're trying to have this tech really be used in everyday transactions. Currently, Solana is at 1,500 transactions per second per their website. That's what it says on their website. There's like a tracker right on their website. And they say that 65,000 transactions is possible, at least on their testnet. This is double what Visa does. This is multiple orders of magnitude faster than any crypto project. So we haven't seen these speeds on the mainnet. They're saying that's like testnet speeds. But as I have written here, even if they lost 90% of this speed, this would be record-breaking, groundbreaking, a complete shift. It'd be very impressive if they could do that. So theoretically, the system will only get faster as well because it's only limited by computing power. So it should scale with Moore's law, which is like computing power will double about every 2 years. Moving on from here, we have the fees. So they have impressively low fees as well. So the average transaction cost is $0.00025. So basically nothing. A fraction of a penny. $10 per 1 million transactions on average. Compare that to Ethereum, whose average transaction fee is $4.42. If you're trying to buy an NFT, it's a whole lot more than that. Go ahead and check out my NFT video. So the Ethereum is right now is 17,000 times higher than Solana. Now, Ethereum should be cheaper after they transition to proof of stake. Should be significantly cheaper, but that's average as of right now. So their main innovations come down to 8 things. Now, we're only going to really break down one of them, but I wanted to put all 8 on the screen here in case you wanted to dig into the research a little bit more. It gets very complicated very fast. So here are the 8 innovations. Go ahead and dig into this further. If I were to explain all these, it would be like a 45-minute video. But we're going to break down proof of history because I think that's really important to understand. So proof of history, this is their consensus mechanism. So a common issue with blockchain technology is that external time is inconsistent. Nodes may not be lined up or could potentially be tampered with. This causes the need for extra computing power and time in order to process transactions. So the goal was to create an order of events blockchain. So projects like HBAR are trying to do something similar where they kind of have this snapshot mechanism. I actually have a video that breaks down Hedera Hashgraph HBAR as well. I'll pin that above if you're interested in slightly different tech that's within cryptocurrencies, because there's a lot of emerging tech here that is slightly different than like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum. It's really interesting. So this is introducing proof of history. So a brief on how this works is just forewarning, it's very confusing, so I'm doing my best job of explaining this simply. So each node, in effect, has a cryptographic clock. New transactions are sent through a verifiable delay function. Don't worry, we're going to have an analogy. This way, nodes know which event happens first without needing to verify with their neighbor, which just means total computing power goes down. There's a higher level of efficiency here. So here's an analogy. There's a glass being filled with water. However, instead of being sent of a video of water being poured into a glass, you're sent pictures of the process. Now, you want to determine the state of the cup and how full it is at various points in time, which is the transactions. So here's 4 pictures that we have of this cup over various points in time. Now, based on these pictures above and your knowledge of how pouring water into a cup works, you can tell the order of these cups. If it's being filled up, you know which one was first, you know which one was last, and you know which ones are in the middle. So this is similar to how proof of history works. So nodes know how the function looks over time, and they know what the current time is through these time delay functions. So they can tell the order of transactions without having to verify that with their neighbor. So this saves time and computing power, makes things much more efficient. This, combined with their other innovations, allows them for these very cheap transaction times and a high amount of transactions per second, which has the potential to be very exciting. Now let's cover some partnerships that they have already. So they have that Serum exchange that I talked about earlier. It's a decentralized crypto exchange. It could potentially be big, as this entire ecosystem gets bigger. The Audius auto streaming partnership. So they have a partnership with TikTok, which of course is a massive company at this point. So that's very big, and that was definitely fed into the excitement around Solana and the recent large uptick in price. They have a partnership with Chainlink to try and get ultra high speed pricing data at like 400 milliseconds. So Chainlink does a lot with off-chain oracles to do things like pricing data or feed information into insurance contracts. With pricing data, they're literally sending the pricing of various coins or stocks or things like that to exchanges so they have accurate data. Through Solana, with how quick things are, they could theoretically make this better and more instantaneous or closer to instantaneous with their very, very small delay with pricing data. And also USDC and USDT have a kind of partnership here where they can be used on Solana, and then they highlight the ability to get up to 50,000 transactions per second. But again, a lot of everything you hear with Solana as of right now is kind of in beta mode. Now, here are some risks. I think it's important to talk about the risks always with these projects because there's a high degree of risk with any crypto project, if we're being honest with ourselves. So first risk that I want to highlight is just the proof of history newness. We don't know a whole lot about proof of history. There's kind of this shift right now happening to proof of stake, and people are understanding like, okay, this is much better for the environment. It seems to be much more efficient. Is that the final form? We don't know exactly. It could be proof of history, could be something else. It could be proof of stake, but there's a lot of newness to proof of history. Also, December 4th, 2020, they had a 6-hour outage that definitely concerns people. Is that going to happen again? We don't know for sure. It's still in beta. There's still a lot to prove, and a high volatility here with a fairly new crypto that has just seen a large increase in price. So in conclusion, how do you make money with Solana? Should you jump into Solana? Let me just explain my thought process behind this. So this is one of those projects that I look into it. I'm very impressed. I see the use cases. I see the transactions per second. I see the cheap transactions. I'm like, this is needed. We need far more transactions per second. We need it to be cheaper. I'm sick of paying $70 in transaction fees for an NFT, which I've only done once. So I think it's needed. And I like the project. I like the founders. Nothing stood out to me as like a glaring, I don't know about that. Yes, there's risk with every project. So here's how I'm looking at this project. We've seen a very, very fast increase in price in the recent history, and that concerns me because it's unlikely to continue that trajectory forever. Is it impossible? I guess we can't say it's impossible, but it's unlikely to continue that forever, to just jump up to the 8th place and not see any correction consolidation. So I'm going to keep an eye on Solana, see where it goes, see if there's any kind of consolidation, correction. And once there's a dip, if there's a dip, then I may jump in with a buy. But I just plan to keep an eye on it for now and either wait for some kind of correction or wait just more time so I have more data about the price of Solana. If you want to keep up with whether I buy, whether I don't buy, go ahead and join the Patreon and you'll be able to get my buy alerts as well. Again, there's limited spots there, so you just want to grab one sooner than later. So I hope that this breakdown was helpful. If you found it helpful, if you wouldn't mind giving this a like, share it with your friends, subscribe for more stuff. So I'd like to thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.